Hello, everybody. This is Michael, and this will be a little bit different today, I think, because while I am substituting for Tuya at this moment, there's a bit of a, I guess I can only call it a failure in the music. So we'll have the Om in back of us, but not the normal music that we would be hearing. We're going to be working on the reappearance of the Christ, and it's really, if we really look at it and we can get our sense of values adjusted so that the most essential things come first. We'll just have to say that, when the great Lord made his decision at the 6th degree and back in the Garden of Gethsemane some 2,000 years ago, and when it was revealed to him the will of Sanat Kumara, and when he acquiesced in that will, something of great import happened for humanity. And by the Christ extending his term of service to 5,000 years, where normally a bodhisattva serves for 2,500 years, it was momentous for humanity. There's so many things to be done, to prepare the way, and the main thing is, of course, that the hearts and minds of human beings have to understand something about the reality of that process. Right now we have, very childish views about things, and we expect some sort of eternal heaven and or paradise or nothing at all. It's just immature and rather childish and somewhat hopeless for so many millions, even billions of people who don't ascribe to certain belief forms. So we have to help educate people, really. That's the job of the Second Ray Ashram, and there's a tremendous educational propagation of ideas going forward at this time, and we can't quit on that. Whatever happens in 2025, the new teaching coming out, there'll be plenty to share. But in the Alice Bailey work and in the work of Blavatsky, that cannot be neglected either. We have an abundance of a rich teaching, and humanity's understanding is woefully unprepared at this time. So those of us who are students of esotericism, I think we have our work cut out for us if we want really to help. I'd like to read a little bit. That's what we're doing, reading from the reappearance of the Christ when it comes to this group of meditations, and reading from the destiny of the nations when it comes to the work of the soul of nations. And we're reading from the book Glamour, a World Problem when it comes to this investigation into the cause of glamour and its eradication. And there's quite a bit also being read from esoteric astrology, which has a very powerful section in the middle called The Science of Triangles. So we're learning about that as well. And as we keep going, we'll try to keep reading the books, because we can never tire of them. What have we absorbed out of these great books? 2 or 3%, my percentage keeps on going down, as I assess what is really there. So, during the next 6 years, we have great work to do, and there will be years of counterattack by the forces of materialism. So let every disciple find the way to get the most out of himself or herself. Now, a few things from the reappearance of the Christ. We don't need to run around and say, this is the Christ, here he is, or there he is. Some people have tried to do that, and it's very immature, and it captures the attention of the gullible people in the world. As DK says, they are undesirable, these claims and tales. Misleading and wrong, but some good has come out of them. Nevertheless, it demonstrates at least humanity's expectancy of the imminence of the coming of the great Lord. So belief in his coming is basic in the human consciousness. He will come, but how he will come and in what manner is not yet stated. And that's so important, it's not a date on the calendar, it's a condition in the energy system and consciousness of humanity and related kingdoms. That's what will determine the time, and it is the Christ himself who can assess this, certainly not we. So the exact moment has not arrived, even though he was expected by some in the 20th century, and even the Tibetans seem to suggest it could happen, but then other things happened which obviously delayed his reappearance. I have a feeling it was the ability of humanity to destroy itself through the misuse of atomic energy. I think that set everything back. Anyway, it hasn't been determined, and the method of his reappearance has not been determined. He goes on, the factual nature of 2 earlier and preparatory moves already made by hierarchy under his direction are the guarantee that he will come, and that when he does, mankind will be ready. Well, certainly hierarchy has come closer, and I suppose one of the moves is to release for human consideration a great deal of the ageless wisdom which I think many in hierarchy thought humanity could not yet absorb. But it seems that Master Moria and Master K.H., with the help of Master D.K., certainly thought that humanity should have this, and they've dedicated, well, who knows what they've dedicated to making sure that it really happens. So, hierarchy has its own methods for approaching, and various masters have taken groups under their training, seed groups, groups meant to inspire and help humanity understand some of the implications. Well, the idea is humanity will be ready when he comes. And as I've often said before, I think, when he comes, says the Tibetan really, it will be an indication that humanity, or that percentage of humanity which can, has taken the first initiation. So he goes on and says here, let us summarize certain aspects of the work he set in motion 2,000 years ago, because they hold the clue to his future work. What a wonderful book it is, I just think it should be reread every year, maybe especially as the Easter time approaches and the time for the Pentecost Some of it is well known to you, for it has been emphasized by the world faiths and particularly by teachers of the Christian faith. He says, but all of them have made his work appear difficult for man to grasp, and the undue emphasis laid upon his divinity, an emphasis which he himself never made, has made it appear that he and only he and no one else could possibly do the same works. Well, that is contradicted even by the Christ in the vehicle of Master Jesus saying, greater things shall you do than I have done or am doing. So he could see ahead, and he never had any egotism attached to his teaching. And this undue emphasis upon his divinity has made humanity worship him instead of imitating him. This is a point which Master Moria makes. The idea of the imitation of the Christ, as the cleric, monk, Thomas à Kempis presented it in one of the great, pieces of mystical literature of the Middle Ages. That's the thing, the imitation, not the worship, because when you worship it just absolves you of all responsibility and you just don't improve. But when you imitate, you have to be resourceful. You have to grow in strength and intelligence and love. So that's what we're after, is the imitation of the Christ. DK goes on, theologians have forgotten that here it is, he himself stated that, quote, greater things shall ye do, because I go unto my Father. Well, I guess that's the Shambhala link, isn't it? The home of the Christ, as of the Buddha these days, is really in Shambhala, though the Christ is descending very much, if you think about it, and will actually take up his Maya Varupa and walk among human beings. This is not expected of the Buddha. He is in Shambhala, and he makes his appearance yearly, if that is still going on. I would suggest reading the Wesak message for 1946 as it is found in the externalization of the hierarchy. It would only go on so long. But anyway, together they will cooperate and make it possible for humanity to take the necessary steps. We really are at an amazing juncture. Age of Pisces is about to give way to the age of Aquarius, and the greater age of Pisces, some over 25,000 years, is going to give way to the greater age of Aquarius. And a 250,000 year cycle, we're told, which is an amazing thing, concluded at the time that Christ made his last noted appearance in the Palestine of the ancient days. 250,000 years. Some people say, well, that's one circulation, one revolution around the Pleiades of our particular sun and maybe some of the associated suns. Anyway, going on, he here indicates that this passing to the Father's house would result in such an inflow of spiritual strength, insight, and creative accomplishments for man that their deeds would surpass his. Such an inflow of spiritual strength, insight, and creative accomplishment in the age of Aquarius, I suppose, that their deeds would surpass his. Because of the distortion of his teaching and its remote relation to man, we have not done those greater things. Someday, says the Tibetan, we surely will, and along certain lines we already have. And that'll be as far as I'll read right now. Too, you may choose to go over some of this when again she's able to return to it. But he's going to start listing some of the things he did which we can do and which he will aid. So, put down the marker. I think, reading from this book gives us some great inspiration. Now, friends, let's begin. Breathing in our white light. Using the imagination to do so, of course. We see our co-disciples in that light. In whatever groups we may all work in together, and in our triangles, love and goodwill and light are flowing through our triangles and into the network of triangles. So we realize in preparation that's a real thing. That's really happening. And we enter the specific thing that Master DK advises: achieve a positive and intended personality quietness, and we formulate to ourselves and in our own words clearly the answers to the following questions. As a member of the new group of world servers, what is my specific, fixed intention at this moment of dedicated contact with my soul? We pause for a little bit to answer that question about our specific, fixed intention. Is my concentrated and expressed personality purpose in line with hierarchical intention, as far as I am permitted to know it? And the third, have I, in my own personal daily life, earned the right, because of definite effort and not so much because of success, to stand with those servers who are now undertaking the work of preparation? Have I earned the right? So these questions are answered before or in the presence of the soul. As much as possible we try to have the mind held steady in the light as we answer these questions. But now, having answered them, and we answer every week because some new insight may come, having answered them, we say together a very powerful and essential mantra. Forgetting the things which lie behind, I will strive toward my higher spiritual possibilities. I dedicate myself anew to the service of the coming one, and will do all I can to prepare men's minds and hearts for that event. I have no other life intention. It's quite a firm statement, and seems to echo St. Paul, press ahead into the high calling that is in Christ, and forget that which lies behind. Now, in this next section of the meditation, we visualize the world situation as best we can, and in terms of what might be our major world interest, and each of us with what knowledge of world affairs we may possess. See the mass of men everywhere glowing with a dim light. But here and there, points of brighter light, where members of the new group of world servers and people of spiritual intention and of loving hearts are working for their fellow human beings. And then we visualize through the creative imagination the vivid light of the hierarchy, imagining it streaming towards humanity and slowly merging with the light which is already in humanity. And then we say the first stanza of the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. I think there should be no question in our minds that a great light is on its way. And then we ponder on the reappearance of the Christ and realize that no matter by what name he may be called in the many world religions, he is still the same great identity. And we reflect and speculate upon the possible results of his reappearance. And we know he will come when a measure of peace has been restored. What that measure is, he can determine. When the principle of sharing is at least in process of controlling economic affairs, this is very far from the case so far. And when the churches and political groups have begun to clean house, and it's clear that that, at least, has begun. When he comes, the kingdom of God will be publicly recognized and will no longer be a thing of dreams and wishful thinking and of orthodox hope. So now we say the second stanza of the great invocation. From the point of light within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. endeavor to concentrate our fixed intention to serve and to spread love in our surroundings. How can we do that? And we realize that insofar as we can do these things, serve and spread love, we are attempting to blend our personal will with the divine will. And then we say together stanza 3 of the invocation: from the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. We can imagine a life directed by soul purpose, by hierarchical purpose, by divine purpose, truly purpose-directed life. And we lay our plans, considering practically what we can do in the coming week to further the preparations for the reappearance of the Christ. And responding to the vibration of the Christ, let us commit ourselves in His name. We have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya, be with us. Now we will sound the Om 3 times, dedicating the threefold personality to this work of preparation. It occurs in so many ways along the lines of the different ashrams, but it all leads to the same result. Oh, dear friends, thank you for your participation and presence. We'll try to get this music fixed. I think we can do that somehow. And tomorrow night at this same time, 5 p.m. GMT, we have the Glamour, Anticipating Glamour Meditation. Then on Saturday, the Soul of Nations, starting from Sunday and going until next Thursday, when we will resume on July 5th. We will not have the Ask programs during those days. From Sunday the 30th, and then Monday and Tuesday we never or rarely have anything, and then Wednesday no, and Thursday the 5th, yes, and it'll be the morning schedule. So thank you for being with us, and it's so important what we're doing. I don't mean what we personally are doing here, but what we as a group are doing to change the way that humanity perceives who the Christ is, what the hierarchy is, what humanity's role is in transforming human consciousness and the human energy system. So we continue our work with triangles. We work on creating the chalice for the Christ consciousness in the Blue Rose Sisterhood, or Blue Rose group. It also has the Shiva Brothers in it as well. We will study deeply in the Moria Federation, the Ageless Wisdom studying deeply with Master DK's curriculum, as much as we can. And overseeing all this, the University of the Seven Rays, bringing the ray energy, the astrological energy into focus in a new way. Working with the Tibetan, who is the messenger of the masters, and we too become messengers in a sense. And our music is available when it's available. Just go to YouTube and there's plenty there for your listening and meditation. So thank you, everyone. And tomorrow again, glamour, the dissipation of glamour in the evening. Okay. Many blessings, everybody, and lots of love from Tuya and me, and we'll see you before long. Bye-bye.